The story of Elon Musk and Justine Wilson begins in an ordinary setting, far removed from the glitz and glamour of Silicon Valley or the breathtaking launches of SpaceX rockets. It starts at Queen's University in Ontario, where two young, ambitious students crossed paths and set into motion a journey that would later intertwine genius, love, ambition, and heartbreak. Before Elon Musk became the household name synonymous with Tesla, SpaceX, and a visionary future, he was just a determined teenager who had his sights set not only on revolutionizing industries, but also on winning the heart of a young woman who initially saw him as nothing more than a persistent suitor. At the time, Elon was 19, and Justine was 18. She remembers him as a boy with an unusual intensity in his demeanor, a mix of awkwardness and brilliance that set him apart from the other students. Elon, true to his determined nature, pursued Justine with a single-minded focus. He would call her, often with classical music playing in the background, and ask her out. Justine, however, repeatedly turned him down. She was not particularly charmed by his relentless attempts, but Elon's persistence was not easily deterred. He called again and again, until finally, their paths aligned in a way that made them inseparable. Their relationship began to take shape in the backdrop of their shared aspirations and the simplicity of youth. They moved in together in a modest apartment in the Bay Area, a far cry from the luxurious mansions that would later become a part of their lives. The apartment was crowded, shared with three roommates and a mischievous miniature dachshund that refused to be house-trained. It was a time of struggle, of dreams bigger than their current circumstances, and of love that felt pure and untainted by the complexities of the world. Elon, even then, displayed an unrelenting drive to achieve his goals. Justine observed him closely, often marveling at his ability to lose himself in work and ideas that seemed far beyond the scope of ordinary imagination. He wasn't just ambitious. He was consumed by the vision of creating something transformative, something that could push humanity forward. Justine, in turn, found herself both drawn to and overwhelmed by Elon's intensity. She would later reflect on this period as the foundation of what made Elon Musk a visionary, but also as the beginning of a dynamic that would test the limits of their relationship. Their early days were marked by Elon's unwavering belief in his ideas and Justine's growing understanding of what it meant to love someone who saw the world differently. Elon's mind was always racing, filled with plans and strategies that seemed too vast for anyone else to comprehend. He would share his dreams of electric cars, space exploration, and sustainable energy with Justine, who found herself both inspired and perplexed by the enormity of his ambitions. Yet, she supported him, often at the cost of her own comfort and understanding of a more conventional life. As their relationship progressed, so did Elon's career. He founded his first company, Zip2, a software startup that provided business directories and maps for newspapers. It was during this time that Justine became familiar with a distinct culture, the world of engineers. She recalls visiting Elon at the office and seeing groups of engineers racing remote-controlled contraptions around the parking lot, their laughter echoing through the space. When her father, visiting from out of town, asked if these were the children of the engineers, Justine chuckled and replied, "No, Dad, these are the engineers." Elon's approach to life was equally unconventional. When filling out forms at customs, instead of listing his occupation as CEO or entrepreneur, he would simply write engineer. To him, being an engineer wasn't just a profession, it was an identity. He often said he couldn't dress cool or hip because he needed to look like an engineer, someone grounded in practicality and logic. Justine found this endearing but also indicative of Elon's deep connection to his craft. He wasn't interested in appearances or superficial accolades. He was singularly focused on building and innovating. Despite the modest beginnings, Elon and Justine's life together began to change dramatically as Elon's ventures gained traction. Zip2 was eventually sold for nearly $300 million, catapulting them into a new world of wealth and opportunities. They moved into a grand house in Bel Air, a stark contrast to their early days of shared apartments and struggling finances. But even with the trappings of success, certain elements of their life remained unchanged, like the dachshund that continued to defy all attempts at house training. Through it all, Justine observed a side of Elon that was both admirable and daunting. He was a man driven by an almost otherworldly determination to achieve his goals, no matter the cost. She began to see the complexities of genius, the darkness that often accompanies visionaries. Elon's brilliance, she realized, wasn't just about intelligence. It was about his ability to see possibilities where others saw limitations. He had an uncanny knack for navigating between the worlds of engineering and business, bridging gaps that most people couldn't even identify. But this brilliance came with its challenges. Justine often found herself grappling with the emotional weight of being married to someone whose focus was so singular, so all-encompassing, that it left little room for the ordinary moments of life. Elon's willingness to sacrifice everything for his dreams became both a source of admiration and a point of contention. He once told a friend that he was prepared to lose his entire fortune and live in Justine's parents' basement if that's what it took to get a rocket into orbit. Justine, reading this later, couldn't help but laugh and think, has he even seen my parents' basement? Elon's obsessive pursuit of his goals often meant that their personal lives were overshadowed by his work, while Justine tried to carve out a sense of normalcy for herself and their growing family. Elon's mind was always elsewhere, on the next project, the next challenge, the next impossibility waiting to be conquered. Justine found herself caught between admiration for his genius and a yearning for a connection that didn't feel like an afterthought. Yet, amidst the whirlwind of their lives, there were moments of tenderness and humanity. Elon's sense of humor, his rare but heartfelt expressions of gratitude, and his unshakable belief in the future they could build together kept Justine anchored to him. She saw in him not just a visionary, but a man grappling with the weight of his own dreams. A man who understood that greatness came at a cost, but was willing to pay it anyway. Justine's reflections on their early years paint a vivid picture of love, ambition, and the unique challenges of being close to someone whose vision extended far beyond the ordinary. It sets the stage for a journey that would explore the highs and lows of their relationship, the sacrifices required to achieve greatness, and the lessons learned along the way. Their story is not just one of love and heartbreak. It is a testament to the complexities of human ambition and the profound impact of those who dare to dream beyond the limits of the possible. As Elon Musk and Justine Wilson stepped into the next chapter of their lives, the world around them began to change at a dizzying pace. The modest beginnings in their shared apartment seemed like a distant memory as they navigated the meteoric rise of Elon's career. With the sale of Zip2, Elon had established himself not only as a successful entrepreneur, but also as a force to be reckoned with in the tech world. The financial windfall from the sale brought opportunities, but it also introduced complexities that neither of them had fully anticipated. Their new home in Bel Air was a symbol of their success, a sprawling mansion that offered every comfort money could buy. For Justine, however, the grandeur of their surroundings often felt like a veneer over the deeper challenges they faced. While Elon was consumed with his next ventures, first X.com, which would eventually become PayPal, and then the ambitious ideas that would define Tesla and SpaceX, Justine struggled to find her place in their increasingly public and demanding life. She longed for the simplicity of their earlier years when success had been a dream rather than a reality fraught with its own burdens. One evening, as they sat in the expansive living room overlooking the Los Angeles skyline, Justine tried to broach the subject of their shifting dynamic. "Elon," she said hesitantly, her voice soft but resolute, "do you ever feel like we're losing something? Like the simplicity we had when it was just us and that terrible apartment with the dachshund?" Elon looked up from his laptop, his expression momentarily softening. "I think about those days a lot," he admitted. "But Justine, we're building something bigger now, something that matters." "I know," she replied, her eyes searching his. "But sometimes I wonder if we're building it at the cost of us." Elon sighed, a rare moment of vulnerability breaking through his otherwise stoic demeanor. "I'm trying, Justine. I really am. But there's so much at stake. If I don't push forward, who will?" It was a sentiment Justine had heard before, one that she understood intellectually but struggled to reconcile emotionally. She admired Elon's drive, his unwavering belief in his vision, but she also felt the weight of his ambition pressing down on their relationship. Their conversations often circled back to this tension, a push and pull between Elon's need to create and Justine's desire for connection. While Elon threw himself into work, often pulling all-nighters and losing himself in spreadsheets and blueprints, Justine found solace in her writing. She poured her thoughts into her novels, crafting dark fantasy worlds that mirrored the complexities of her own reality. Writing became her refuge, a way to process the challenges of being married to a man whose mind was always 10 steps ahead. One day, during a rare moment of respite, Justine shared an excerpt from her latest manuscript with Elon. The story revolved around a protagonist torn between two worlds, one of light and one of shadow. and the sacrifices required to bridge them. Elon listened intently, his expression unreadable. "It's good," he said finally. "Really good. But darkness doesn't always mean something bad. Sometimes it's just unexplored territory, a place where new ideas are born." Justine looked at him, a mixture of appreciation and frustration bubbling within her. "That's exactly what I'm trying to say, Elon. But it's not just about ideas. It's about people, about relationships. Sometimes the darkness is where we lose each other." Elon didn't respond immediately. Instead, he reached for her hand, a rare gesture of intimacy. "I don't want to lose you, Justine, but I can't slow down. Not now. Not when we're so close to something incredible." Their marriage continued to evolve in the shadow of Elon's growing empire. As Tesla took shape and SpaceX prepared for its first ambitious launches, Justine found herself grappling with the realities of being married to a man whose genius often felt like both a blessing and a curse. Elon's work demanded everything from him, leaving little room for the mundane but necessary efforts that relationships require. When their first child, Nevada Alexander, was born, Justine hoped that the experience of parenthood would bring them closer together. But tragedy struck when Nevada passed away from sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, at just 10 weeks old. The loss was devastating, a pain that neither of them knew how to navigate. "We need to talk about him," Justine said one night, her voice trembling with emotion. "We need to grieve together." Elon shook his head, his jaw set in a way that indicated the conversation was over before it began. "What's the point?" he said, his voice cold and detached. "It won't bring him back." Justine felt a wave of frustration and heartbreak wash over her. "Elon, grieving isn't about fixing anything. It's about honoring him, about allowing ourselves to feel." "I can't," Elon replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "If I let myself feel that, I won't be able to keep going." It was a moment that crystallized the growing divide between them. While Justine sought connection and emotional healing, Elon retreated further into his work, using it as both a distraction and a coping mechanism. The pain of Nevada's loss lingered between them, an unspoken weight that neither could fully carry alone. In the years that followed, their family grew with the birth of twins and later triplets. But the demands of parenthood only added to the strain on their relationship. Justine often felt like a single parent, managing the chaos of their household while Elon was consumed by his ventures. She loved her children deeply, but she also felt the isolation of being married to someone whose mind was perpetually elsewhere. Their arguments became more frequent, often centered around Elon's work-life balance and his seeming inability to prioritize their relationship. "I feel like I'm raising these kids alone," Justine said during one particularly heated exchange. "You're here, but you're not present." Elon's response was as pragmatic as ever. "I'm building a future for them," he said. "Everything I'm doing is for them, for us." "But what about now?" Justine countered, her voice breaking. "What's the point of the future if we can't even enjoy the present?" The tension between them continued to grow, culminating in a moment that would change everything. Justine, feeling increasingly unheard and undervalued, decided to confront Elon with an ultimatum. "Something has to change," she said firmly. "I can't keep living like this. We can't keep living like this." Elon's response was as calculated as his approach to business. "I understand," he said simply, "but you need to decide if you can accept me for who I am, because I can't be anyone else." It was a statement that echoed long after the conversation ended, a reminder of the fundamental differences that had always existed between them. For Justine, it was a moment of clarity, a realization that loving Elon meant accepting both his brilliance and his limitations. As their marriage came to an end, Justine found herself reflecting on their journey together. She saw the beauty in what they had built, the family they had created, and the dreams they had shared. But she also recognized the sacrifices they had made, the parts of themselves they had lost along the way. Their story, she realized, was not just about love and ambition. It was about the complexities of human relationships, the challenges of balancing personal and professional aspirations, and the resilience required to navigate life's darkest moments. And while their paths ultimately diverged, Justine knew that their time together had shaped her in ways she could never have anticipated. Elon Musk and Justine Wilson's journey is one of inspiration and heartbreak, a testament to the highs and lows of chasing greatness. It is a story that reminds us of the power of dreams, the cost of ambition, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Their legacy, complex and intertwined, stands as a poignant reminder that even in the pursuit of extraordinary goals, the human connection remains both our greatest strength and most fragile bond.